Every so often in Top Gun Maverick, Pete Mitchell, that's Maverick, is summoned to a face to face with an admiral. Pete, after all these years in the Navy, more than 35, but who's counting, has told at the rank of captain. He's one of the best fighter pilots ever to take wing. But the US military hierarchy can be a treacherous political business, and Maverick is anything but a politician. In the presence of a superior officer, he is apt to salute, smirk, and push his career into the middle of the table like a stake of poker chips. He's all in, always. The first such meeting is with Rear Adam, Chester Kane, a withered chunk of race played by Ed Harris, who has an impressive in-movie flight record of his own. Without the right stuff, there would have been no Top Gun. He seems to be telling Pete that the game is over, thanks to the new technology. Flyboys like him are all but obsolete. Based on this scene, you might think that the movie is setting out to be meditation on American air power in the age of drone warfare, but that will have to wait for the next sequel. Pete still has a job to do, a teaching job officially, but we'll get to that. The conversation with Kane is not so much a red herring as a meta commentary. Pete, as I'm sure I don't have to tell you, is the avatar of Tom Cruise. And the central question posed by this movie has less to do with the necessity of combat pilots than with the relevance of movie stars. With all this cool new technology at hand, you can binge 35 episodes of Silicon Valley Christian without leaving your couch. But we really need guys or movies like this. Top Gun Maverick, directed by Joseph Kosinski, answers in the affirmative with a confident, aggressive swagger that might look like overcompensation. Not that there is a hint of insecurity in Cruise's performance or in Maverick's. On the brink of 60, he still projects the nimble, cocky, perennially boyish charm that conquered the box office in the 1980s. Back then, in Troy Scott's Top Gun, Pete was a brash upstart striving to stand out amid the camaraderie and the competition of the super elite Top Gun program. He seduced the instructor Charlie, who's played by Kelly McGillis, locked horns with his golden boy nemesis Iceman, and lost his best friend and radar intercept officer Goose. Ronald Reagan was president and the Cold War was in its florid final throes, but Top Gun wasn't really a combat picture. It was at heart a sports movie decked out in battle gear, about a bunch of guys showboating, trash talking, and trying to outdo one another. Times have changed somewhat. Pete is the instructor now, called the North Island Naval Base, to train a squad of eager young flyers for an urgent, dangerous mission. The frat house atmosphere of the 90s has been toned down, and the pilots are a more diverse, less obnoxious bunch. One advantage to the long gap between chapters is that many credited screenwriters are free to fill in or leave blank as much as they want. In the last few decades, Pete has seen plenty of combat. Bosnia and Iraq are both mentioned and pursued on and off romance with Penny Benjamin, Jennifer Connelly, Now he finds her working at a bar near the base and an old Sparks reclines. She has a teenage daughter. Maverick is not dead, by the way, and a world-weary manner that matches Pete's signature blend of cynicism and sentimentality. Other reminders of the past include Rooster, son of Goose, and Iceman himself, who has ascended to the rank of admiral and kept a protective eye on his former rival. Clymer's brief appearance has a special poignancy apart from the 2021 documentary Val. He hasn't been on screen much since, losing his voice to throat cancer, and seeing him and Cruz in a quiet scene together is as sad and starring as something from the epic of Gilgamesh. The first Top Gun unfolded against a backdrop of superpower conflict. There was a formidable, if mostly off screen, real world adversary, the Soviet Union, in case you forgot, and the hovering possibility of nuclear apocalypse. This time, he's a real life ammo skirmish with an undefined foe, a mysterious entity in possession of super high tech aircraft who is building an unauthorized weapons facility in a mountainous region of wherever. No names are mentioned, just the enemy. The circumspection is a little weird. Who or what are we supposed to be fighting? China? In this economy? The Taliban? Netflix? Maybe? COVID? What exactly? It doesn't matter. We never see the faces of the enemy pilots once the mission is underway, which only confirms that the scene that Top Gun Maverick has nothing to say about geopolitics and everything to do with the defense of old-fashioned movie values in the face of streaming era nihilism. Is the defense successful? The action sequences are tense and exuberant, reminders that flight has been one of the great thrills of cinema almost from the beginning. The story is a mixed bag. In spite of the emotional cross currents and physical hazards that buffet poor Maverick, his career, his love life, and his duty to memory of his dead friend, to say nothing of G-forces and folk. The dramatic stakes seem curiously low. Though you may hear otherwise, Top Gun Maverick is not a great movie. It is a thin, over strenuous, and sometimes very enjoyable movie, but it is also, and perhaps more significantly, an earnest statement of the thesis that movies can and should be great. I'm old enough to remember when that went without saying, for Pete's sake. Well, that was pretty much everything. See you next video. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Bye.